Just starting streaming right now, so yep, and we are live. Let's just check that the stream's up and running. Miles the Liar Davis strikes again. I know I've gone a bit early, but I don't want to be taking up too much time of Arwin's time because I know he goes live in around about 25 minutes. Right, that's on mute, so that's all working. Right, okay, so domesticated primate, nice to see you in, mate. Right, I'm going to pause the video there because we don't want to be watching that. But Tony, we're here again with Miles Davis.
Who?
Miles.
You mean Miles the Liar Davis that lies about observer heights like Ruhif does?
That's the one, mate. That is the one. Do you remember this time that we had a bit of back and forth a couple of years ago, and we actually went back to St. Bees and we physically measured a hill?
Yeah, the bit that you and Lottie had a fight over.
Yes.
And I remember whatever that value was, off the top of my head, I think it was 21 or 23 feet. But whatever height that was above the beach, the top of the beach where the tide does come up to. So you got to add a little bit on for the tide, 10 feet or whatever. But the point is that you and Lottie had this back and forth, right? And the bottom line is when Ruhif comes out and makes claims that he doesn't even think we're seeing the lighthouse, that in itself is a little bit crazy. But if he doesn't think we're seeing the lighthouse, he's then got to substantiate what he thinks we are looking at. And he picks a small chapel that is partly grey and is nowhere near as tall, and argues that I was it 10 or 15 meters in height? Well, we measured it to be 21 feet or 23 feet down to the beach from where we actually were. That was the reason why I left. And he just makes this nonsense up because he thinks it'll stick. Well, I just left because there's no point in having a conversation based on a false statement of fact. But then he said to me, can you look at this video? And I looked at the video and I was like, eh? So go on, lead us in. Tell us what we're looking at.
So, yeah, obviously the title of the stream is called Miles the Liar Davis. So, essentially this is basically revisiting one of the Glober's most, how would you say it? I wouldn't say proficient liars, but regular liars, let's put it that way. And he got that name. You actually coined that phrase for him.
Observer height. That was all to do with that observer height. He claimed he was at 40 feet, and he was nowhere near 40 feet. But he claimed it, and he did it flippantly, and he said he was above actual sea level as well, and he wasn't. He was about 21 feet above actual sea level, and he claimed 40. That's double. At the end of the day, if you're going to double your claim, right, ballers have got to flatten out the ball, and they have to do that by making you as high as possible. And that's they've got to do it, otherwise their model doesn't work. But just because they argue that we must be higher and therefore I'm going to correct your height, doesn't mean you actually were at that height. Now, at the end of the day, all the people have to listen to what's being said and make their own mind up. But at the end of the day, that thing that Miles lied about, the 40-foot observed height above actual sea level, was wrong. Now, Ruif's now making that same claim. Now, this is kind of interesting because this video that we're talking about now, Miles got that name because he lied about his observer height. He wasn't 40 feet above actual sea level. He was 20, maybe 23, 25 at the most, with a tripod on it, whatever. But point is, he's not at 40. Now, he needs to be at 40 to get his observer height to get anywhere near on the curve calcs. Well, by doing that, that's trying to disprove, or rather trying to discredit the evidence presented that is not consistent with living on a ball. They know they've got to change that observer height. Otherwise it's not a ball. That's why there's so much fighting over observer height. They've got to get us up, and we're like, hang on a minute, that's 40 feet. It's 21 feet, dude.
There's I've got an image on screen from the first time that we actually went to Hoy Lake, and we actually met up for the first time there, and we did this observation. This is DSCN 0133, so it was only the 133rd image or video that I'd ever taken with the P900 before I gave it to Arwin. So this image here, I remember correctly that we had put this out as proof of being a flat Earth, right? Or completely debunking the notion that there's Earth curve between here and Blackpool, Hoy Lake and Blackpool. Do you remember the scrutiny that we were given about what we had to go through, what information we had to provide to validate this? Do you remember? Can you tell the audience what that was?
Well, basically, we showed where we were. We did a 360. We showed that we were next to the little, was it like a turquoise-coloured telescope thing next to the RNLI building? and they just wouldn't accept it because they said that there was a break in continuity from taking the image and showing where we were. So it could be that we took it from much lower or much higher, and it wasn't conclusive. And then they argued about what the actual height was, and then they argued that we must have been higher and it was taken from somewhere else. And in the end, they just deny. And all the time they're calling me a liar. And at the end of the day, the evidence speaks for itself. Ranty was with me. We both went at the side of the thing, because wherever the tide was at night time, you can't even see it. It's pitch black. But the point is, we're low enough to the tide for us to be able to see above the dirty air, because we know that dirty air is a thing, and we don't know what causes it. We maybe do now, but we know that we need to be a certain elevation above the height of the water, but below the claim of Earth curve. So there's a spot that we've got to pick and that demonstrate. And we went at night time because whatever refractive effects are by day, we know there's no water evaporation at night time. If anything, there's condensation. It's all coming back down. So we know that we're not likely to get too much of a mirage. And what do you know? We went there and we got this little nugget that bowlers just deny and just say, oh yeah, you've lied about that. And it's like, well, why don't you go and do it yourself and then come back and tell us that we lied? But I remember when we had to set up with coats, because we did this on a 10 or a 12.
Yeah.
Because it's that dark looking into the distance. The camera can't pick it up. The P900 is crap at nighttime. It's got really poor quality at nighttime. So we had to do a 10 or a 12 second long exposure. And I remember being sat covering it with my coat in like a Batman style. Stop the wind from, because literally the blood pumping around your fingers is enough for it to influence the picture. And I remember sat round it with my coat shielding it from wind, because I wanted to get the stablest picture that we could get, because I wanted to see how much we could see. Now, obviously, when we got the preview, we could see these dots underneath, and we had no idea what they were. We could just see that we couldn't see them with the naked eye because they're too small. But we got all this, and the level of, to answer your question, the scrutiny that we got when it went on for a while, it was high. It was the highest level of scrutiny because it goes directly against their model. And it's right that they scrutinise it, because I wanted to know what we were looking at as much as they wanted to know, because it was interesting. Regardless of whether it was a ball earth-proof or not, we see stuff in the image that is supposed to be behind the curve of the Earth. Now, if you're going to argue bendy light or whatever, at least it leads on to a conversation, because you get the information from the start. They knew where it was, or where we were. They knew what height roughly we were at. They knew where roughly the tide would be. They knew all the basics to start manipulating the model so that they can bend it into a flat plane, into a curve. But you need that information to be able to scrutinize and validate and question the level of evidence you're being presented with, because you want to see how strong or good or bad the evidence is.
And yeah, I mean, just leading on from that, I will, this is the point of this entire video, is that when we released this image, we were asked immediately, where were you? What was your height above the water? What time was it? Where, all the information that was needed to try and validate the observation. And we gave all that. We also was able to pinpoint some of the details in the actual image itself, which is obviously, this is Blackpool Tower. There's the love heart on it. These are a couple of rides that are on Central Pier. Over here we've got the big one. We've got the return on the big one here, which goes back round. And right to the right-hand side, we have the mirror ball. So we have all this information. We have observer height, times, etc., etc., so that people can go back and validate this work. Because like you say, we wanted this analysed. We wanted people to come back and tell us what we were actually seeing. Why isn't there Earth curve? I mean, let's be honest, the Earth curve, if we believe that we live on a sphere, should have been where my cursor is right now, which is right beneath the top part of the tower. So yeah, there was about 250 feet or so. There's about 250 feet or so. All of this stuff beneath it, including all of the big ones, should have been hidden to Earth curve. But it's clearly here in the image. There's no denying what we're seeing. But we had to give this information. We were given the utmost scrutiny years ago. This was about 3 years ago now. But
so, see, let me ask in chat. Someone says, what has your footage of Blackpool got to do with Miles Delia Davis's observation, Banty?
Well, I'll tell you, because Miles Davis put a video out. He put it on the 3rd of January, and he titled it A Challenge. A challenge, full stop. Nothing else, just a challenge. So there's been 117 likes, 0 dislikes. So whatever this challenge is, obviously it's a tremendously good challenge, right? Now he's a globe earther, and he's obviously challenging flat earthers here. In this video, he has this image on screen, which you can see. And basically, he says in the video, can a flat earther explain this image? Right? dead easy. Just that's his challenge. Can a flat earther explain this image? Well, I put a challenge with absolutely no supporting data, question mark. Shocking. Maybe provide some more details. So, me expecting him to behave the same way that we did when we were challenged about this image of Blackpool Tower, I expected him to come back with a bunch of details about things like observer height, location, name of the wind turbines perhaps, seeing as we were able to tell people what was in the image in our footage. Maybe he could provide the information about what these turbines were. We'd be able to go back, validate, check the distances, see the topography of the land, all kinds of stuff we could try to answer this challenge about, a challenge. Well, what does Miles Davis come back with?
I mean, he did this on the. If you remember on his, what is it called now? Something per train, something train.
Pontchartrain?
Not Pontchartrain. That's what I've got going through my head. It was
Trapain Law.
Trapain Law, yeah. He did this thing with the mountains and the bridges, and he was making claims, and he never presented the evidence of where he actually took it from. He told us where he took it from, but didn't prove where he did take it from. So obviously the same argument that was used against me can now be flipped against him and say, and I did do that because it's important that we know where you took the image from. Now, at the end of the day, right, regardless of the ins and outs of the Trapain Law observation, you need to be able to prove that there's no funny business going on and be transparent with what you did, which is what we did in our video. We did a 360, we showed where we were, and they still didn't accept it. But the point is, it's transparency to be able to show that you're not hiding stuff. And at the end of the day, it's expected. We're expected to do it, but so are you guys. So if Miles really wants us to do something with this challenge, you've got to be transparent and show us the facts, because once we know the facts, we know what's going to be causing it, and he doesn't want us to show the facts. It seems that he wants us to speculate as to the cause. Then he can claim a debunk, and then tell everybody that he's debunked us. And it doesn't work like that. You've got to be transparent at the start, Miles. Show where you were when you did it. So in other words, rewind the video that you've showed. Show us the bit where you do a 360. Show us where you were stood. Prove that you were stood where you were. Then show us the bit where you zoom in on the thing that you're looking at, in this case the turbines, and then that proves that you did the observation from where you were. If you haven't got that information, your observation is nothing. Sorry.
It is, and here's the thing. The image that I've got on screen now, obviously of Blackpool Tower, shows no obstruction, right? It shows no obstruction and completely debunks the notion that there's obstruction between point A and point B. So obviously, in this case, the Globers are going to turn around and say that these images are all being bent around a sphere into the camera lens, right? So this is what they're going to come back with. This is their explanation for this. So we had to put this information out only for them to come back with some kind of bullshit. Now, we would like some information about this image so that we can look into this and see if there's any explanations that, as a flat earther, we can echo.
Oh, sorry, it's me. Sorry. Go on.
So if there's anything that we still echoing.
Is it? Let me have a look. Is it still echoing now?
No. Right. So as flat earthers, so that we can respond to this, we need this information, Miles. So after I asked him to provide more details, this was 3 days ago. He says further information will be supplied in the follow-up video. Interesting. Why would you need to put a follow-up video when it's a challenge? If it's a challenge,
because he wants us to jump in feet first and go, oh, well, we think it's A, B, and C, and then he'll just go, well, actually, it's not. Now, there's a few things that can cause this, and we can speculate as to what it might be. But if he's got the information, he should be releasing it at the start so that we don't speculate, and we can, based on the facts, give the explanation for what's causing this. Because there is an explanation, and we can explain it. Because if it was this simple to prove that the Earth were a curve, I mean, how big's the Earth, right? I mean, looking at it's almost like Pontchartrain. Are we on the size of a basketball? I mean, the scale proves that this is not true. But for us to be able to give the answer that he wants, or to give an answer to explain why it is this way, then we need that information, Miles. Otherwise, we can't speculate, because that's what ballers do. Ballers speculate and lie. We want to do it based on what the actual facts or the evidences actually are. So let's have the evidence. Let's see where you took it from. show us the 360 so that we can prove that you were at the place that you claim, show us you zooming in, and then show us you zooming back out again, and then let us go and do the work. I'm sure we'll be able to find an explanation for it, but without that information, Miles, we're not going to speculate.
Yeah, and I just want to further that is that I stepped up to this challenge. And 3 days ago, I wanted this information because I wanted to look into this. I actually stepped up to the plate, but I just needed information to actually work on it to try and answer this from Miles Davis, seeing as he's put this video out, which, as I say, has had a lot of likes to no dislikes. So it's clear that this challenge is in some way massaging the ego of the Globers here. But as a flat earther, I wanted to try and answer this. His response was basically, piss off, I'm not giving you the information. Then I put, okay, well, give some rather loose details, the name of the wind turbines, the location of the observation, the height of the camera above the water at the shoreline, and a rough idea of how long before sunset and sunrise. I then put thanks in advance, and I will try to answer this. So I was very nice to Miles Davis, even though we've had a bit of back and forth in the past. I just needed some information to look into this. It's what the respectable thing to do would be, seeing as we've had to do it in the past and we've been very open about this sort of stuff where we've taken our observations from. We just need the information. We've just got one image from him at the moment, so he's left it until 2 hours ago. So this is why I put the video out, and he's put, sorry Ranty, I missed this comment. I'm glad you are willing to try to answer this. Surely this is a simple case of an object being obscured from the bottom up. Why do you need more information to explain this? I can tell you why we don't see the bottom of these turbines. It's because they are being obscured by something else that is between the camera and the bottom portion of the turbines. What is your explanation? Tony, you got it right. You nailed it right on the head. He wants us to give an explanation for it without him providing any information, supporting evidence to actually validate what this image actually is showing, where it is, anything like that. You nailed it. You knew exactly what he was trying to do. He wanted us to put our stamp of what this could be, for him then in retrospect to come back with some bullshit data that would debunk that without him actually providing the information up front.
Even if he did do that though, Ranty, because he needs to show it the way he recorded it, because unless he's done a 360 when he recorded it, right, it makes it, there's always something that makes it a little bit suspicious on their side, right? We just do a 360, point and zoom in and say, this is where we are, look, and you can see I'm next to this, blah blah blah, and we zoom in and then we zoom back out again, and then you can fight about the content afterwards, right? But it's not an issue for where you were at the start. Yeah, it's always an issue for observer height. They need to flatten out the globe. We just point out that it's not a globe, this is not consistent, and then we argue over the height. But what he's doing is he's got what looks like, is it a still or is it's moving, isn't it? It's moving, it's a video.
Yeah.
Right. So we haven't got to zoom in. We haven't got to zoom out. We haven't got a 360. There are explanations for this. Everybody knows there are explanations for this, but we can't speculate, Miles. So if you were asking us to speculate on reasons for why this, the answer is no. You need to be transparent and show where you were, what you were looking at. Tell us the turbines. Tell us which turbine you were looking at, so that we don't have to find it ourselves and we can focus on the point that you're asking. We shouldn't have to do the homework for it and speculate as to the facts. You should be presenting the facts so that we can speculate for the cause and then prove that it's not Earth Curve that's doing it.
Exactly. And one last thing I just want to actually point out right now is that I don't care about answering this now. It's a simple point of, I wanted to do this 3 days ago. I wanted this information. And Miles Davis, after putting a challenge out to flat earthers, has gone back and basically stuck his middle finger up at me the entire time. 3 times I asked him for information. Twice he got back to me and said, I'm not giving you that information. So I tell you what, Miles Davis, I don't think you're going to get a flat earther that will want to actually work with you and try and answer these questions for you. Because essentially, if you're just going to treat people like this, when we are very open with everything that we do and we show footage, we show an image just like this of flatness over 29.3 miles, right? And we provide all the information to you guys, but you're going to treat us with disrespect and treat us like cunts, because you don't want to actually give us the information. You just want to try and set us up for a fall. It just shows me that you're not interested in the truth. You're just interested in hollow victories that mean fuck all, whereas flat earthers are actually here for the truth.
Yeah. So there's a guy in chat, his name's Two Men I Hit. He says, so what by taking a single photo is Miles supposedly lying about? Well, it's lying by omission. He's not telling us the facts, because we need to know the facts to be able to explain the observation, right? Now, at the end of the day, we did it, and he's expected to do it, and he jumps all over us saying, you've got to be accurate with your observer height. Well, it works both ways, Miles. You either give us the information we ask for, or we just ignore it, because there's no point.
Yeah, we could have put this video out and just with this image out, or these series of images, and just said, flat Earth proved with no supporting data. Would anybody come around and say to us, that's proof of flat Earth without the supporting information?
Ranty, let's flip it the other way around. Let's just say that this was the Hoylake photo, right? But we didn't tell them it was from Hoylake. Let's just say we get them to guess where it was and guess the observer height. They wouldn't accept that. So why should we accept it?
Exactly. So, Miles Davis, I was willing to entertain a back and forth with you over your observation, but you can't treat people like they're complete idiots. You can't do that to people. You can't have people waiting on this information and you to stick your middle finger up at them. I'm sorry, yeah. Miles Davis, but that's just the way it is. But you have history with doing this. This isn't the first time that you've done things like this. There's a reason you got called Miles the Liar Davis. It's because you do things like this that really screws up your credibility, because you should be providing this information. You should be willing to work with people. You shouldn't be leaving it for some kind of gotcha moment and try and go back and reverse engineer the data to try and make it whatever we guess is wrong, because that's what you do, Miles Davis. We know this. You've done it before, but do you know what? I was actually just willing to work with you, but I'm not anymore. Screw you. You don't want to provide the information. I don't care what video you put out in the future. I don't care what information you put out about this particular observation. You were given the opportunity to provide this, and you're not. You're just using it for content to try and suckle off flat Earth, because that's all you're doing. You're trying to suckle off flat Earth and try and make some kind of reputation for yourself, which, to be honest, is in the gutter. We're here for the truth. We're not here to play games, and you clearly are.
And at the end of the day, Miles, I can think of 3 explanations for this, none of which I could ever suggest publicly, because I wouldn't want to speculate as to the cause when you've got the facts that help us narrow down the issue. Because if I said it was answer 3 and it turns out it was actually answer 1, that invalidates answer 1 being correct, because because you didn't tell us the information in the first place, so that I didn't say it was answer 3. Do you know what I mean? Come on, Miles, give us the information that we're asking for, and then we can prove it's not a ball.
Yeah. Just a few shout outs to people in chat. Nathan Oakley's here. Are you coming on Nathan's later, Tony?
Listen, Arwin's saying he's got his main account blocked. Can you unblock his main account? I know it means messing around, but go and unblock him. Don't be mean. It's Christmas.
I've got his account blocked.
Yeah, unblock his main account.
Hang on, let me just check, see whether that's even correct.
Well, he says it is, and I don't disbelieve him.
Bear with me. But yeah, Armin will be actually going live in a moment anyway, so if you've got a link for his actual video, community. So I'm just trying to see if he's actually blocked, because community settings. Right, anyway, hidden users. Right, here we go. Let's have a look. Oh, Arwin is blocked. There we go. Right, I'll unblock him now. Right, so I don't know whether he can actually talk right now. Right, AJ, don't mention me, Ranty. There's a warrant out for me. Mark Taylor, I am friendly. No, you're not, Mark Taylor, at all. You're lucky I'm even allowing you to chat in my
in my chat. I've for a long time.
I know, he's crawled out of the woodworks, hasn't he? Travis, Plain Truth. Mate, have you seen that new channel? If you haven't, go check it out. If you want an answer, if you want to see who that channel is, I'll show you. But I'm sure that you'll love the work that they're doing. Nick, nice to see you. Lex Lennox, blah blah blah. Right, okay. So anyway, essentially, I'm going to end this stream right now because we will have Arwin going live. I just wanted to point this video out because ultimately, this is the dishonesty that we expect from these glowheads. We just want an honest debate, and they're not willing to do an honest debate. So,
Ranty, Ragnar says that he's blocked as well. Can you get him unblocked? Ragnar's an idiot, though. I don't know whether I would unblock him. I think he's blocked on mine.
Right, so I'm going to put this link in chat. If you want to go and listen to Arwin for an hour, he's doing his show right now. He's just started. So if you want to head on over there, and then we've got Nathan Oakley at 2 o'clock. Happy days. go over, watch Arwen, and I'll see you all in the next one, guys, and I'll see you on Nathan's later. Say bye-bye, Tony.
Bye-bye, Tony.
Bye-bye.